Hi, everybody. I'm Ronnie Shaver from Ronnie's Garage in Southern California. And this is our monthly technical seminar via Zoom. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through this list. It's going to be on a 53R type. The Bonjour system is right here. You see, this is your pump. That's the reservoir. This car should take engine oil. I think originally it was 30 weight. I like to put a heavier engine oil in. Don't put 90 weight. The problem with 90 weight on this model is they have really tiny orifices. They have a felt filter and all that kind of stuff. And it's calibrated for 30 weight. Now these cars will drip front to back when you operate the Bonjour. We're going to do that right now. I'm going to show you where the Bonjour. It's a manual, automatic, central lubrication system. So you probably want to get on that other side. So this extra pedal down here, see that? This right here, you push it down, yeah, and it should retract slowly. That's pretty quick. And what that does is there's a spring, push it down and it'll come up slowly, see it? And that's injecting the oil to a lot of the suspension joints, the rear springs, the clutch mechanism. We're also going to check the transmission level while we're in here. This manual transmission has a dipstick that is checked when the engine is not running, as opposed to an automatic. It has a rubber plug here. This fits really well. And just so you know, folks, this job is not as hard as it looks. I'm trying to stay out of the way of the camera, supply light, and do it from awkward places. So it has a dipstick. You can see on there's a line. Okay, this just takes regular 80/90 weight oil. We'll stick it in there. It's almost to the line. That's fine. Okay, so that's for that. If this were an automatic, there'd be another access plate on this side with the dipstick, and that is checked while the car is running in neutral. So as you can imagine, on a right-hand drive, automatic, crawling in here, and try not to bump the gear shift when you're doing this, because if you do, it might take off on you. It's never fun when a car starts driving away from you and you're not in it. Okay, so now we're going to fill up the engine. Oh, one other thing it's a good idea to do is take a screwdriver and or a wrench, tighten all the hose clamps for the cooling system. You got a bypass hose there. I lost my light. You got the upper radiator hose. This is the bypass hose. The upper radiator hose. Check the belt tension. These do not have to be tight, just so you know. It's a very low amperage generator. If you get them too tight, they'll start making noise and they'll burn up. You'll have some problems, trust me. So what we're going to do is go to the other side. Part of the annual maintenance, part of a 2-year service, or a major service. Okay, so oil goes in here. This is an R type. A Mark 6 has a screw-on cap, so we're going to put oil in here. I use some pretty stout semi-synthetic Penn grade 2050. It's a blend, synthetic and regular oils. High zinc. I want the high zinc on the old cars. Just going to fit in there. Just goes right in there. Can't leave it. Should take about 8 quarts on a refill or a service. You see some more heater hoses out here. There's a, I don't have my light again. I'm gonna have to get more oil anyways, so let's, yeah. So you got some heater hoses. There's a heater hose. There's a manual valve out here. This should have a, see, they make changes on these cars all the time. This is the other heater. This is the other heater hose, return hose. That's the lower radiator hose. Um, here's where you can get to these side covers. You can tighten, cinch up these. They will like to leak. You can just put a quick snug on these 3 rocker cover.
I got a question.
Sure.
When you check, once it's up, the oil level and everything, and then you check check the dipstick, every once in a while, weekly or whatever. And it's got the, kind of the 2 lines, the min and the max.
Uh-huh.
How close to max do you want it? Is right in the middle fine, or what is that? What's the ideal there? When do you want to be filling, topping it up?
I never recommend going to the max mark on these cars, and the reason is they do not have seals on the crankshaft. They will tend to, if you keep them up at the max all the time, a lot of times they'll just leak out more oil until they get to a happy medium. The 2 marks, between the 2 marks is about 2 to 2.5 quarts. So the car holds 8 to 9 quarts. Just keep it above the min line. I like the middle, somewhere in the middle is fine. But don't overfill them. Try to keep them above the min, but if you do check your oil and it's below the min, do not panic because you still have plenty of oil in the car. One thing I didn't remember to remind you is if your oil level sending unit is intact, before you put oil in it, it's a good idea just to turn the ignition on, press that test button, and make sure it reads below the minimum line. That way you know that works. And then afterwards, you can test it to see if it works after it's full. That's just one of those little, it's such a convenient item, I think. And many owners don't even know that it exists. It's pretty surprising. Because sometimes checking the oil on these, you can make a mess. The dipsticks are never convenient. They like to drip all over hot exhaust and so on and so forth. The best time to check it is after it's sat overnight. That means every drop of oil that's going to move anywhere is all in an oil pan.
Got it.
So you get a more accurate assessment. Now, this is Craig I'm talking to, right?
Yes.
Yes, and you have a silver Wraith, and I mentioned in the email that this is almost the same, and it's very, very, very similar. Your car is bigger.
Very much the same to me.
Yeah. So they use the same power plant. The carburetor on your car is different, as would be a Silver Dawn. You do not have the S2 carbs. They put those on the Bentleys because they're kind of a higher performance setup. But yeah, these are essentially the same cars with much smaller bodies. So now, just keep putting oil in here. A lot of times you'll see these cars and they'll have oil pooling around the spark plugs, and that's because this rocker cover is leaking. You can actually run these cars with the rocker cover off, and the oil will pretty much stay in there. It's only at highway speeds it starts flying around. Oil gets up to the rockers, but it's at a low pressure and low volume by the time it gets there. I always found it fascinating that these cars came with a secondary coil just in case one failed. It's just like the modern cars, they put battery switches on them because they knew the batteries would go dead. And I said, what would you call that? Not reverse engineering. It's kind of like backwards engineering. So we'll flip this down. I will start the car up. This is an R-type, so it's so much easier to start. All you do is press the gas pedal down, let it go, and press your button. They have an automatic choke. Make sure it's in neutral. Right. Set the choke. A little cold-blooded, this one. So this one does have an engine noise, and that was there before. I always like to check for oil leaks. We're going to choke out here pretty quick if we're not. So I'm going to go back to the other side, make sure that oil filter's not leaking, right? Yeah, looks dry. Huh? It won't take off on you then, huh? All right, that's good enough for me.